Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome here to the Brush Media Center in the Brush Library on Brush High School campus. My name is Rick Bloom, and we are with you tonight for, I believe, our 10th edition of the 2025 Northeast Ohio Girls Basketball Coaching Panel. And not only do we have a ton of expertise and some of the best coaches in Northeast Ohio with us, but we celebrate the great growth of this basketball game for the girls. And so we would like to talk to some of these gentlemen tonight on the eve of another season coming up, the 2025-26 campaign. So without further ado, let's get to it. So I think I'll go down first and just kind of, I think the general question will be, what we're going to be looking at. I know it's maybe a little bit early for everybody in terms of where you are in practices and getting things set, but sort of a preview of the 2025-26 season. And right now we are going to start with Mr. Eugene White, who is a repeat performer here at the coaches panel. Coach White, you, if I read that correctly, you participated out at the Cedar Point Sports Complex in a real good summer program. And last year, your team basically had a great season, 16-7 and 9-1 in the conference. I thought I read a comment that you said that summer program, which just had tons of teams, maybe 100-some teams, 200-some games total, just constant going on. Can you tell us a little bit about that summer involvement and then what you're looking forward to for this coming season?
I just think the summertime is really important for any program. I love the fact that Ohio has came up and said that we can start a little sooner, which is in mid-May. I think that's great for a lot of our, especially if you have a young team coming in. I think that's really good so you can get them in the gym more as much as possible. But then at the end of the summer to be able to go to Cedar Point, I think that tells you that your program's in the right direction. I truly believe that because that is not guaranteed that you get invited to Cedar Point. They only take the teams that are doing the right things, I believe. And I believe that we're going in the right direction. We're excited about it. We think that our team is pretty young. We have 2 seniors, but everybody else is sophomores and freshmen. So we're really excited just to see how we deal with adversity. That's the number one thing for us right now. I want to see how can we deal with adversity. How well can we be coached, and where our kids don't get angry or get frustrated because they're actually getting coached. I think if we can get to that point, we have a good chance.
All right, that sounds great. We also have from Avon Lake, Mr. Paul Apple. We appreciate you coming back. I know you've been here before, so nothing new other than some of the questions time to time. You put in a great season as well, 23-6, I think, if my numbers are correct. And I have to say it, but kind of eliminated a hometown favorite here. But hey, we'll go back at it this year and we'll do battle. But your team showed such character and resilience last year, excellence. I was kind of looking at the schedule. It was a tough schedule, so they really battled through that and had a tremendous season. And you earned District Coach of the Year honors, I believe, if I have the title right. Sometimes it's sectional district. But you had a great season, and so congratulations for that. And then can you tell us a little bit about maybe what you guys did this summer, if anything intense, and what you're looking forward to in 2025?
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate all the kind words there. Yeah, I mean, it was a great season, but our biggest thing is trying to move forward from it, and something that I think something that helped us be successful. I didn't sit here last year and tell you what teams we were going to beat or any of that kind of stuff. We just got better, and we started to play well at the right time, and that's always the goal. I think one of the biggest boosts we felt from our success last season was our attendance at everything in the summer was, basically every kid that's competing for playing time, and that it really. Sometimes I was like, a couple less you guys be here so I can, really give other ones opportunities. But it was good, and the girls have been pushing themselves. We want to get better, and we're not going to be. It's the biggest thing I told everybody. We've got a young team, some young guards who are going to play real minutes for us, And we're going to be a better team in December than we were in June, and I hope to be a better team in February and March than we are, on October 30th.
Is it a possible speed bump to try to keep the girls focused? I mean, they had such success last year, and to kind of climb that hill all over again, is that something that's tough with the girls, or?
I think there is a mentality that you're always trying to balance. Like the confidence level has increased, and that's what you want. But you don't want to take it as we're 0-0. Like nobody cares what we did last year, and if they care, they're just more motivated to beat us again. And we lost plenty of regular season games last year, and we're going to do the same. We're going to challenge ourselves all season long, and really just keep building to get better.
Great, great. Next up, we've got Coach Kevin McNamara of the Berea Mid-Park Titans. And I was doing a little bit of research tonight or earlier today, and I'm kind of amazed at the story where you have come to meet your daughter on the basketball court, who I think coaches for Midview, if I have that right. But she does that, and I'm pretty sure your two teams have played together. So I had to ask, what does that feel like, father and daughter? It's one of the more unique storylines in Northeast Ohio. Can you tell us a little bit about that situation and how you approach it?
Yeah, it's the one thing that her and I have always talked about is she's come through. She sat on my bench for years, learning the game. She was a college basketball player herself, but basketball has always been that connection between us. When she took the job out of Midview, the job at Berea opened up at the same time, and I took the opportunity, and it came with a lot of people going, man, you're going to have to play your kid, and how can you do that? And, well, the first 4 games, she pounded me, so the year is great, 363 days a year. The 2 times we play each other, we really don't talk to each other. We're cordial when we have to be, but there's also a huge slant in my family that everybody wants to see Dad lose. And it got to be last year where we've been fortunate enough to have some success and girls who are getting better, and so we were able to win the last couple of times we played, but it came with consequences of her yelling at me during the game and my wife standing behind her bench yelling at me during the game.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of fun.
How are you looking at this year? And again, it's pretty early yet, but I mean, from what you're expecting or what you're hoping for, what does the next season hold for you?
Yeah, I think, the nice thing about the growth of girls basketball in our area is I think it probably can be a recurring theme. There's a lot of young talent, and I think a lot of our teams are going to be young because there's certainly girls deserving of those opportunities. And depth isn't really across the board to say that I've got 6 girls in every class who are playing varsity basketball at a high level. Some of us have 3, 2, 1, 0. Right? I have no seniors. Okay. So we're coming in from a 16-8 record last year. And we won the games we should have. We played well in some of the games we needed to. Ultimately, we didn't win anything. So for us, one of our small goals is the number 25. And if we hit 25, and that's the only thing we've talked about so far, then that means we've won a district championship.
Right.
We play in a conference which is really got some really great teams. Paul whooped us a couple times last year. And that's the joy of basketball for us. We get to play school down in the other side of Bagley Road, and then Shore Gals and the Avon Eagles, and it's really some good basketball. So this year, it's just one of these things for us. We take nothing for granted, but at the same time, we know that it's a pretty big thing we need to deliver.
Okay. Well, now we move on to the leader of the Trinity Trojans, Mr. Ron Donaldson Jr. Welcome back. Thanks for coming. So a great year for you as well. 18-5, 12-0 in the CVC, which is not an easy conference. So this is, I think, year number 4. Is that correct? Okay. It seems like you've lost some dynamic seniors, but you've got girls who are ready to step up. Isn't that true?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We have 4 returning seniors and 1 transfer, and then 1 coming from volleyball. She played before also. And we have a great group of freshmen, incoming freshmen, and 2 juniors. So we have a great mix of, old and young.
Okay. Anything you're looking for, especially as far as a leader? Is anybody going to emerge, you think, or you're expecting that? Or
Absolutely. I literally had that conversation with my seniors. I need them to step up. It's their turn. I've been saying it for the 4 years. Like this is my graduating freshman class. So it's their turn to kind of step up to the plate and be leaders. I don't want to be as vocal. I want them to talk more, do more, and make my job a little easier, honestly.
Sure.
And they deserve that right because they've been through the system. They've been through it for 4 years. So I want them to take that leadership role and lead us in the right direction.
All right, sounds good, sounds good. Now we move on to the headman of the Lutheran East Falcons, and that is James Brooks. He's on the panel. You guys, right down the line, good season after good season. I think 15-6, if I saw it right last year. And your programs are always known to be tough, athletic, and just always a challenge. So how do you see this year's edition of the Falcons?
This year's edition will be better. This year we're returning 4 starters from last year's team. We made it all the way to regionals, losing to the eventual state champions by 5. With that being said, those young ladies were pretty young. Outside of that, we have 4 sophomores returning this year. Well, they were freshmen last year, they're returning this year. So they have a lot of valuable game experience. So moving forward, I expect them, my 2 seniors, who I'm really proud of, Dakota Porter and Janae Smith, they've been through it all since their freshman year, having to deal with injuries, being put in positions to play probably before they were ready to, and seeing them able to cut down nets last year was such a great feeling. And with that, moving forward, now they're hungrier than they were last year. So we're looking forward to making a run at it this year.
Okay. And now we move over to Mr. Adam Johnston from the John Marshall Lawyers. Thank you for coming and participating with us. You guys had a nice season last year. 15-8, 9-3. I think you were battling JFK and I'm forgetting the other one. JFK and John Hay. So it was you 3 up there, for the entire year. Is that something you see as a repeat for this season, or are there some other teams going to be struggling to make the top in the Senate?
So in reality, as you spoke about being amongst great coaches up here, the reality is, different conferences and just different environments. One of the approaches that I take is not more so of us being at the top as far as on the basketball court. It's more for me off the court. Because I understand the reality of the conference that we're in.
Sure.
The conference that we're in, I think is always going to be stagnant. It's always going to be whoever's at the top, can win it. But the reality is it's just winning in their lives for me. But to answer your question, I will say that our goal is to win it all this year. And that's, been the striving goal, but it's just to make them better people. And then, let it translate.
Well, and not to say that numbers are everything, because you're just telling me it's not everything, but you're in your 5th season, I think.
Correct.
And if I counted right, I'm looking at a 50-26 career record. So congratulations on that. Doing something right over there at John Marshall. So keep that up. Now we go to our panelist from Orange High School, and it is assistant coach Ronnie Holman. Thank you for coming. This might be your first time, right, if I'm not mistaken? Okay. Well, thank you for coming aboard. Now, you guys are also in a tough conference, the CVC, and you battle some tough teams year after year. I believe it's going to be tougher this year because you graduated Rachel Oberster, I think, right? Yes, she had one of the nicer seasons last year with over 1,000 points earned in her career during that season last year. So let me ask you, how do you replace someone of that magnitude, as you go into the following season?
Well, you really can't replace that. That's a very special talent that we had. So the only thing that we can do is try to prepare the girls that we have now, and continue to grow them. We have a very young team this year. We have one senior, which is she was a freshman when we first started over at Orange, and it's good to see her, step up to be our senior leader this year. But we have a very young team, freshmen and sophomores. So all we're going to continue to keep doing is keep working with them and continue to grow and try to build something special.
All right, sounds great. And now we get to tonight's host, Coach Damaris Winters, if you don't mind, I'm going to take just a second because I really appreciate being involved with his program and the way he has taken me in and let me be a part of it. So just a sensational year last year. I know you don't look for the spotlight, but you were named the Ohio High School Basketball Coaches Association Division III Coach of the Year, following a record-breaking season in which our Arcs went 24-3. I still remember we were 2-2 at one point, ran off 22 straight wins. Excellent postseason, went really far, and that puts your record at 196-92. So congrats. I know that isn't the biggest thing on your board, but just wanted to say congrats. You were also named the News Herald's Coach of the Year. So not just statewide recognition, but local recognition as well. So now we put all that behind you because I'm sure you're just thinking basketball at this point. But how do you, same kind of question as before, you had a lot of success last year. How do you turn around and tell the girls, all right, we got to go a little further?
So that's a good question. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you and everybody that has something to do with what we do here at the beginning of the season. Thank the coaches for coming out, good friends of mine, when we're not playing each other. So I appreciate you guys, as always. So to answer your question, we started in the locker room after losing to Avon Lake. That's when we started to get our mind right, to see what we needed to do. And I told them, like I tell, like I always say, if you lose that last game, feel it, become one with this. You know what I mean? Take it in, feel it. We don't want to feel like this next year, right? So if we don't want to feel like this next year, then we need to do some things different. I need to do some things different in order for us to get over the hump. We've had 2-3 great seasons in a row, and we've been here before. We've turned this thing over. I've been here 10 years. We've done this, but the difference is now is that these kids really, our kids before wanted it. These kids want it. Like, it stuck with them. They were sick, I was, but we lost against a very, very good team who deserved to win that game. They had a great game plan, the great coaching. The girls, Avon Lake girls, played phenomenal basketball. They made shots when they needed to. They got stops when they needed to. And they were the better team, and he was the better coach that day. So my job is to go forward, learn from that, continue to grow, and hopefully I'm the best coach in that last game that day. And that's what I plan on doing. So we've been in for the summer, as you know, because you put everything together for us. And we go that June, when we go to all the colleges and we play all the top competition around our area, the Midwest, and we want to see some different zones, some different defenses that we need to go against that we're going to see in the playoffs. So we travel. We played about 35 games, and of course we keep up with our records all the time. So we lost like one or two games in Detroit, and that's when we were missing a couple players against some state championship teams out of Detroit. So we're ready. Of course, you know who heads us off. The Mason sisters with Tati Mason, Nani Mason. They both had excellent summers in AAU. Jakaylin Brown, our person in the middle, our 6'4" girl in the middle, she's ready to go. Juliana Ferraria, she's ready to go. She has gotten much better over the summer. I just told her that the other day. And if there is a silver lining in the Shannara McDowell Isaacs injury, is that Samaya Lyles will finally get her chance to really be head of this team and play some good basketball. As I always say, for the last 2 years, I told everybody that she would have started anywhere else.
Sure.
She would have started at point guard at any other team around, absolutely around here, but probably in Ohio, it's just that Shannara is that exceptional that you have got a player, you know what I mean? So, Samaya will get her opportunity. She's played phenomenal basketball throughout the summer at those colleges. She's been at every workout since we started working out, and we're ready to go.
And how, if I'm going to ask you, how about the next 5? I mean, we looking pretty good depth-wise too, because that's a big part of the season can go very long, as you all know. So
again, our starting 5 is very strong, as everyone knows. Probably got 5 Division I players on that starting lineup. With Shannara, that would have been 6. So what you have coming off the bench is some young, really good kids. And I'm glad you said that too, because I'll talk about our middle school in a second in our JV. But leading that pack off, our 6th man is Addison Harris right now. Is a backup point guard. She's very good. She had a 39-point game on JV last year, and she's done good throughout the summer with us.
She can score the ball. She can handle the ball. She knows all the plays. She plays good defense, and she'll be coming first off the bench. From there, we have a lot of bigger girls, like 6'2", 6'3", 6'1", starting with Isis Cook. You got Jayana Shaw. You got Rakia Matthews. You got Taya Pimpton. And I'm missing one. Who am I missing?
Kyra, maybe?
Kyra Fantasy. Yep, you know my team better than I do. Yeah, that's good stuff. So you got Kyra. She's not one of those 6-footers, but she's like a Tati Mason type kid. But they all can play. We are deep. We're not as deep as previous years before, but these kids can play. That's a young bench, but they're ready to go. They're ready to play. They've been there all summer, and they're definitely ready to go. We got some young kids that'll be splitting for JV and varsity. One thing I would like to say, and not to take too much of the time, is that I'm inspired every year, as we all know, right? But this year I'm more than inspired to come because of the way we, it kind of ended for us last year, which was a great year. It was a great year. So that and two, I have a lot of good middle school players, man. A lot of them, and that's what we've been here doing. Ever since I've been here, I'm in the middle school, so in my 9 to 5, I'm seeing them all day. I'm seeing the middle school girls all day. They're in my office all day, running back and forth. I know the parents and all that. And there's about 10 girls down there that could really play. So if people think that we're good now, we're gonna be really, really good in a couple years as well. I think.
Well, and I would think that the pipeline is every bit as important as it always is.
Absolutely.
You don't want to be caught, with the cupboards bare because you let a class come through. And at least as of this point, we're not talking NIL yet at your level. So hopefully those players come right on through in all of your districts.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, it's coming. But yeah, so it's the pipeline. That's important. And some people don't understand that. They think that you can just piece it together and copy and paste and take one from here and do. Nah. How you maintain that stability and maintain that championship type pedigree and maintain those good seasons is by growing in your district. That's how you do it, and that's what we're trying to do here. And I'm very inspired for what's going on JV and middle school. So
it's a good sign. Good sign.
Yep.
Okay, just a few questions here to learn a little bit more about you. Coach White, I am assuming you were a player back in your day as well. When that time came and you started thinking, well, I've probably taken it as a player as far as I can, was there a point where you said, you know what, I want to continue on as a coach? When and why did that happen that you decided, you know what, I want to do it from the sideline now?
I think after I finished, I played college football, so once that time was up, it's time I got a job. You still want to be around the sport, but that time was football. Basketball was always my first love, and I had some good friends who were coaching at Central Catholic, the greatest high school ever invented. So I just went back home where I went to high school at and just started coaching there. And then a couple years later, I had a daughter, and I think that's what turned me on to coaching young ladies because I wanted to see her continue to play. So, just the basic love, how sports changed my life. If it wasn't for sports, I tell our girls this all the time. And I'm also the head football coach at Richmond Heights also. So I let our boys know that without sports, that you liable to be giving me dollars at McDonald's because that's how big sports was important to me because it changed everything, the dynamics of making me want to go to school, understanding that academics was well, so it was very important. So I think that's the biggest thing for me that I talk to our kids about because at some point the air is going to come out the football and the ball's going to stop bouncing. Number one question you got to ask yourself, what did you get out of this game? And luckily I was able to get a college degree, master's, and now I'm getting the opportunity to see some of our kids get those same opportunities. I tell our kids all the time, my birthday's in April, but the real birthday comes in November. When I see our young ladies or even now our young football players signing a national letter of intent, that's big for me, and that's my birthday. So we got one coming up, November 12th. We're really excited about. So, once again, like I said, seeing kids reach their goals and dreams, that's the number one thing, but that's what pushed me to be able to coach.
And you beat me to the punch. You brought up a real good point. Yes, you were the football coach this year. I got to know how you have the time and the energy to go from football, and it's not even, a fall sport and a spring sport. It's fall and winter, right? So you're back to back.
Yes.
Where do you find the time to balance both of those?
You got to have some great assistants on both sides of that both sides, you know, with football and also with basketball, because there are some days that you may have to cut out of a football practice like 5 minutes early. But, you know, we managed it. It was tough. It's tiring. But when you're doing something that you love to do, you make time. Just anything, like I tell everybody, and everything, you make time for what you want to make time for. But when you're making that time, you do have a shortage in another spot in your life. And so you just have to ask yourself, what's important to you at that moment? So we would practice from football from 3 to 5:30. I would go to basketball practice from 5:45 to 8 o'clock. So getting home at 9 o'clock to get up and do it the next day. So
Okay, that's
It wasn't easy.
determination. Coach Apple, so two questions that are sort of similar. Do you have a personal coaching philosophy? And also, what do you feel is your greatest strength as a coach? What do you bring to that court every day?
Yeah, I think all of us, I think Adam talked a little, and Gene just did, about, you know, we want to coach basketball, but it's also like developing relationships and teaching the kids so much more than basketball, because there's a lot of really good players that we all coach. Not many players are going to make money playing basketball. They're going to have full-time jobs, they're going to have families, all those kind of things. So it's trying to be as relationship-based as you can, and really build those relationships and work with the kids to build trust. So, you know, I think I try to coach kids hard, but that you can't coach kids hard if they don't trust you and they don't see the vision that you have for them, and want them to really achieve everything they can. And that's our biggest goal, is for the kids to be able to achieve some of the goals that I don't even know that they believe. And so that's really important to me. And again, another thing Damar said, one of the most enjoyable things for me is like working with our youth. Like we're down with I know every third grader in our program all the way to our varsity kids. You know, and that's what makes it fun to coach at a public school, and to work with the kids and watch them grow and see them as they improve. Because when they're in those moments and you're going from week to week, day to day, it's so hard to see the growth. But then you look back a year or two ago, and they've turned themselves around as players, and improved weaknesses and grown strengths. And that's what's really enjoyable about coaching is relationships and watching them grow as people and basketball players.
That's nice, very nice. Coach McNamara, how do you cultivate team unity? And at one point, when I was growing up, you know, you watch pro sports, and a lot of these teams stayed basically the same for 5, 6, 7 years. That's not so much the case anymore with free agency and all of that. And now we've got the portal in college, but a little bit high school, same thing, right? You've got kids coming and going. They're freshmen one year, they're senior the next. How do you cultivate team unity with so much transition in the locker room?
Well, I think just the society as a whole has changed so much in girls basketball that the one thing as a male also, and you know, I get that this whole dais is men, but the idea that, you know, you have to have a connection to be able to build culture. You know, I look at it that I've been in girls basketball for 21 years. I have 373 girls who played under my program and outside of high school that are played in college. And what I think that I've been able to find out through all the lessons I've learned, through their families, through them, their relationships with myself, is that ultimately if you can connect with your team, they can trust you, they can talk to you, we can communicate with each other, the good and the bad, that will sustain a culture, right? When it becomes difficult, that's when you're going to find out what you're really made of.
Okay.
And I think kids, especially girls, young females, have to be able to rely and trust you to do that. So I don't think any coach can build a culture without trust that you have their back, you're going to fight for them. And I'm an emotional coach. I think for myself, the way my approach is, if I can get them to buy into me, and I share this with my team every year, any team that I ever coach is, I read this in a book one time, as a coach, my job is to love my team. The team's job is to love each other. It has nothing to do with the relationship of the coach in that aspect, but I really believe that if you get a kid who can look at you when it's really bad in a time of competition and they trust you, you know, that'll speak volumes for anybody's relationship, but also, more importantly, sustain a culture that in a community which we live in, that the parents will talk to each other about you and your relationship with your kids. And ultimately, that's what matters the most.
Okay. Coach Donaldson, I guess a two-part question. What is the biggest challenge for a high school coach today, if you maybe want to compare it to, I don't know, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? What are some of those challenges, and how do you encounter those?
Well, for me, I would say the consistency with some of the players, getting them to buy in and understand the importance of being there on a regular basis. And I tell them all the time, I understand like you have life instances, right? So just communicate with me. Let me know what's going on. If you got something going on, that's fine. I know you can't make every practice, but when you're MIA, it hurts you, it hurts the team, it hurts our chemistry. We can't really put in sets. It's a lot of things we can't do because you're not familiar with what we're doing. So I think them being consistent and giving their max effort on a regular basis, like collectively, I think that's maybe one of the main challenges.
Okay. Do you see a lot of, I'm not sure when your first year of coaching was, but have you seen a lot of change from year one to where you are now?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And like some of the coaches talked about culture. Your culture is the most important thing. If you can't sustain your culture, it's going to be up and down every year. So just kind of eliminating some of the things that we had in the past, and the younger people or younger people that's older now, they can speak up and say, this is the way we do things, you know? So I think that's important, having your older girls set the tone and set the standard for your program.
Coach Brooks, what do you say to your team on the first day of practice?
Attention to detail.
Okay.
That's our motto this year. Like I said previously, we're pretty far, but the attention to detail and your decision making. Like Coach Adam spoke about earlier, it's about building great people, you know. And I always tell my girls, like, yo, your decision, as you get older, your decision making is going to be more and more important and critical in which way you go in life. So why not start here on the basketball court? Coach Ryan previously said about kids not showing up to practice. There's a cost to that, you know, whether it's repetitions you're missing out on, those key little tactics we could talk about that you miss out on. It all comes down to decision making. And going back to the attention to detail, that all ties in together. So for us to get as far as we need to get to, you have to pay attention to the details. And I could tell them, I talk to college coaches all the time, if you're supposed to be at this spot, you better be here, or it throws the whole offense off, or the defense off, and things like that. So I stress that all the time, decision making and attention to detail.
Is that a message in every practice each day that you have drills for, or that you constantly pound into the kids' heads, as far as, hey, this is what we talked about since day one, now we're on day 45, we still feel strong about those details?
Oh, absolutely. Every day. If we're setting up in a press defense and you're not where you're supposed to be, the press is broken. Now we're at a disadvantage. That's just attention to detail. That doesn't require any specific skill or anything like that. That's just being dialed in. And then that ties back to decision making. Where are you at practice? Where are you paying attention to the details? Now I have to sub you out, and then you're trying to figure out what went wrong.
Okay. Coach Johnson, I've got a question for you, kind of a personal one too, I always wondered about. There are different coaching philosophies on taking a roster, and the question would be, do you treat everyone fairly, or is it just that you treat everyone equally? I mean, does everyone get the same treatment? Sometimes you've got some better kids on the roster, some are struggling a little bit. How do you handle that so that you don't have kids talking, in the locker room about people are getting different treatments,
So just with us, and obviously as coaches on this panel, we all know everybody's in a different environment. So I'll speak from just a coaching from a general standpoint of when you have a standard of kind of who you are, you create your culture. What is fair? You know what I mean? And when you look at what is fair, what's fair for one player may not be fair for the next person, because you don't know the dynamics of the way that they're living. You don't know what their education may be, in the sense of they may need more help from an educational standpoint or an athletic standpoint, financial standpoint, support, resources, and things of that sort. So when one kid may say, hey, coach, that's not fair. I think, from day one, one of the biggest things that I tell all my players and anybody that's ever played for me, I have favorites. And my favorites are those that do the overly communicating, those that don't go MIA, like Coach said, those that do all the little things, like Coach has said about attention to detail. And so when you establish that first, I think they understand who you are, and they trust that when you're doing for this kid, that what you're doing for that next kid is really not you not being fair. It's Coach knows what that kid needs.
Okay.
And so then you define it by saying, how can I help the great basketball player that's not good academically be successful? How can I help the great academic kid be successful on the court? And then some of them just may want to be in my environment, not for the basketball reasons. So what may be fair to them is Coach might need to just keep them around everybody where they're safe here, and then make sure they get home and things of that sort. And that's kind of the dynamics that I deal with.
Okay.
And I'm sure, other coaches have, but when you talk about being fair, I don't really, fair is not being equal, because if you're being equal, everybody does not live the same, they don't act the same.
Sure.
We're all coaches in the same group, but we don't do things the same. So to say fair, I just think that it depends on the individual student athletes you're dealing with.
And you touched on it a little bit, so Coach Holman, my question for you would be the academic piece, because, once you're in the pros, coaches at that level don't have to worry about that whole piece, but at your level you do. And so how do you balance the academics and the athletics, and how do you stress to the kids how important it is to achieve academically as well?
Well, we thrive on education first with our girls. Last year, I think we had overall GPA of like 3.7.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the highest or anything like that, but I think it's pretty good. And one of the things we tell the young ladies to focus on making sure that they have their grades up first, and then basketball is second. If you're not doing good in the classroom, you possibly can't help us on the floor any kind of way. And that's the way I feel. I've always felt that way in my time of coaching sports, period. I just don't think that a student, especially a kid, an amateur kid, can do anything. I don't care how much talent they have. I don't think they can do anything on the field or on the court if their grades are not good. I know some people sometimes they think win first. I want to win. So by any means, let's get this girl or young man out on the field or on the floor, but they're failing in the classroom. I think our priority and our focus is to make sure that our girls are doing what they're supposed to do in the classroom.
Okay. Coach Winters, and we've heard a little bit about this from the various coaches. There's a ton of X's and O's in the things that you teach on the basketball floor. But when you go into each season, what else do you try to teach the young ladies, about the life, just about how the game can really help them in certain aspects of their life?
So my first thing is when you get a young lady or even a young man, as I coach my son and the boys too, is the first thing we talk about the young lady. So the first thing is to be a great young lady first as a person. That's first. And then be good academically. That's second. And then basketball third. I think we all know people, maybe work for people, may have done business with people that were very smart. They just weren't good people sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I know I have. So with that being said, I would like you to be a good person. I would like to see these young ladies be great young ladies, first and foremost. Second, perform in the classroom at a high level, because that's what's going to get you where you need to be as far as being an adult woman, being able to hold down a job, get a job, maintain that job, maintain your house, maintain your car, maintain your financials, all that good stuff. So we talk about those things outside of the basketball court. Then third, we want to definitely perform on the court, but that's kind of down the line. So we do talk about it. I don't have to talk about it as much anymore because they've heard me. I had a young team, and they were freshmen and all that. They've been hearing this same thing over and over and over again. So they understand. And then I tell them what my day is. My day is getting up at 5 in the morning, preparing myself for what needs to be done, coming to work here in our district for 6, 7, 7.5 hours, leaving, going to take care of the various businesses that I have to take care of, getting here at 6 o'clock, going to 9, 9:30, dropping people off, making sure grades are okay, doing what we got to do, going home, working out, eat, shower. I'm in the bed by 11:30, 12, and I get up and do it all over again. So one day they're going to have to do it, and you have to be prepared to do that. Being successful, being great is not easy, as we all know. It's easy to be bad. Just don't do it. Just stop. It's easy, right? So, but if you want something in life, and if you want something for yourself, and you want something for those around you and those people that you're providing for, then you got to put it out front. You got to put it out front. And I do it every day, and I expect my girls to do it every day. Not as I do it as an adult, but as a player, as a person, and as a student. Absolutely.
Well, this is a little bit of a selfish question, and you don't have to dwell on it a lot. If you want to pass, that's fine too. I'm looking at the future of the game. We talked about it, where I mentioned it a little bit at the beginning. The NIL situation. It seems like it's creeping down toward high school now that it's taken hold of college. What are your feelings about it? And I mean, can we? I don't want to say can we stop it, but is it bound to come? And if so, how do we handle it?
I think it's bound to come. It's here. The question is, that's a good question. How do you handle it, right? Because some of these kids are going to make more money than we make as coaches. Just being honestly about it. I think the most important thing, though, that you have to do is it starts with your culture, the culture that you set in your program. If you allow kids to run your program, then they're going to really run it then. So I think from day one that you have to set that standard that this is your program. Either you buy in or you buy out. Sure. And I don't even think it's just about the NIL money. I just think it's overall. Once you set your culture is your culture. Once you start to change your cultures, as some of the coaches talked about just getting a W, then your whole program is going to struggle. And so you just have to manage. You have to manage it. You have to have constant communication with the families, and you just have to stay your course, no matter how good that player is. You have to. Even right now, we all have good players that's not getting NIL money, but hopefully when they go to college, they'll get it. But they have to understand. Their families have to understand that there's still a coach, and no matter where you go, you have to prepare yourself for the future. And if you don't do that, then what are you going to do? Because at some point, I read this thing a couple years ago. Uncoachable kids are unemployed adults.
Oof, okay.
So if you can get that money right now, but all quick money ain't always great money. So the question is, how do you keep that money coming? And the only way you can do that, keep that money coming, is by having high character, having values, and wanting to be successful. And those three characters right there are people that can be coached.
Okay.
Me.
If I can add
Sure.
what he said. Nick Saban was just on, talking about this on SportsCenter about Dabo Sweeney as an example of someone who's been very successful at Clemson. And initially when NIL took over, Dabo said, I'm not going to conform to that world and that way of living. And you see what it's done to him. It's good to be that tough coach. Obviously, us up here, it's good to say, hey, we can be the greatest coaches in the world. But the reality is, we talk about the generations of changes. So if one of us coaches up here are coaching a great kid that we're holding the line to them from an accountability and discipline standpoint, nowadays in this generation, because they don't like that, they can transfer and now go play for someone else that may be okay with that. And so the reality is, Nick Saban said to Dabo Sweeney, hey man, you're a great coach, you're a great person, but that no longer works anymore. So if you're not willing to fit in with what works with the NIL world now to maintain the success that you were having, to get back to that Dabo Sweeney that was constantly winning, then you're gonna have to move out of the way.
Okay.
So the reality is, if you're not, as a coach right now, the reality is in this NIL world, there's the 1%ers. Brush High School, I'm sure Berea, I'm sure, Avon, a lot of us have a lot of players, but in Northeast Ohio, there's only a few 1%ers that actually, not saying deserve, but that will touch NIL when it comes down to, because of their performances. And then it comes down to representation. You know what I mean? The brand that Coach talked about. And, I just think that with that, we just as coaches have to get ready, because it is here temporarily right now. And just so you all know, it has touched a few players that are ranked in the country right now in the state of Ohio as far as basketball, and is doing a lot.
Okay.
Just so you all know, but yeah, that's just the.
Anybody else want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I will weigh in. I just had this conversation with somebody probably about a week ago. Because I seen one of our Ohio athletes in football. I think the school is Wayne, but he's one of the top receivers in the country, and he's Ohio State commit. And he had missed out on some NIL opportunities, and one being $100K. So his mother wanted to go to court, to fight this and saying that we need NIL. And as Coach Jean said, NIL is here. It's already in 44 other states here for high school NIL. It just hasn't hit Ohio legally yet. And that's why I said earlier, it's coming, because we can't, if we have people going to court to fight this thing, for their kids to have NIL money and stuff like that, there's nothing we're going to be able to do about that. And it's almost like being a parent. I don't know how many of the fellas up here are parents, but being a parent, you have to adjust to this generation. We have to adjust our parenting to this generation.
Very true.
So we're going to definitely have to adjust to that with these kids receiving NIL money, and especially in high school. The way that I see it, I don't like it personally, but the way I see it is it's going to affect your household, meaning that kids are basically going to become the head of their households because they're taking care of their parents financially and things of that sort. So I think NIL, in my perspective, is already out of control in college. And I think once it completely touches all 50 states in high school, it's going to change not just sports, but I think it's going to change life and how you raise a child, how you coach a child. Because you ain't going to be able to tell a kid to do anything because I'll leave and go over here because this coach nice and I can get NIL money by going over there. It's going to be bad. That's just my opinion. So,
All right.
Nephew, he plays at Oklahoma State. Yeah, he plays football, and his NIL is over 100K. But like I stated earlier, and I hear everybody saying, "Oh, you have to change." I think it goes back to the parenting. My good friend's name is Dante Payne. His son is probably one of the most mannerable young men I've ever met, and his dad controls everything. His dad doesn't want you. He don't want you around him if you're not going to coach him. And I think sometimes to hear that we have to conform to the students or to the players, it's like basically saying we conform to the kids in school. This is school. This is a sport. We all have a job. Once those kids understand that this is what it is, we talk about the word fair. Fair is I'm treating you. You may not be all treated the same, but everybody's gonna get the same equal opportunity. That's what fair is. Everybody getting the same fair equal opportunity. And I think sometimes we take away, we have to conform to what the kids are doing. Well, how is that affecting some of these schools right now, academically? And I think that's, if we allow for that as coaches to transform into what people are saying that we have to conform to, it's not going to get, it's just, the sports are going to go down.
So let me weigh in. I agree with both points. I think it's a middle point though. You don't have to just totally conform and turn over to what it makes to run a household, and you don't have to go the other way where it's just like, no, you're not taking that or whatever it may be. I'm a person who's when you talk about NIL, when you talk about transfer portal and all that, my personal children playing at high levels, both Division I. My daughter and my son, and we benefited off these things. At first I wasn't with it. I didn't like it. Because it was unfamiliar to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, how y'all gonna get this kid this much money or do this, or they can just leave when they want to? Nah. But the truth of the matter is, it's so much money being made off these kids' backs that they deserve to get paid. Period. They do. That's what it is. Now, like Gene said, if you're the head of your household, your dad, your mom, or whatever it may be, it does go back to how you raised your kid. Because I don't have a problem with mine. I never had an issue with either one of my kids, whether it was money that they were getting or transfer or whatever it may be, because I handled every single thing that was going on with them. But that's me. Again, it's fair when you talk about fair enough. That's my household. But what about the household that dad's not there? What about the household that need that money? Mom needs that money. What about the household where it's other things that's going on? So I can't put my stuff on everybody else. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
So there's a fine line. I always tell the kids, excuse me, that the way we're treated is kind of like a fingerprint. We might be treated differently tomorrow, just like Coach Adams said. There's kids that got some tough backgrounds. So you gonna tell that kid not to go get this money, not to go get that 200,000, that 100,000 when his mother may not be able to afford the basic needs of the household. Yeah, go get that money.
Sure.
Right? And it may be a situation where, and then now as he starts to get out of control and starts to talk crazy because he has that money, now that's when someone needs to step in and kind of calm that down or whatever it may be. But we all have different fingerprints. It's different. It's different from my household to the next household to the next household. So I think we have to govern as needed, if that makes sense. It's not 100 and 0. It's somewhere in the middle, maybe 20, maybe 75, that you have to kind of figure it out. You know, so I agree with the NIL. I agree with the transfer portal. All that. And like I said, at first I didn't. I wasn't a big fan, but it's so much money floating around. The colleges are making so much money off these kids in these programs, and you can see it. You see it ain't even hurting them. That 100,000 or whatever it may be, that's good for that kid, but that ain't hurting that. That's not hurting that program. Also, when you talk about high school, and I don't mean to take the mic so long, but when you talk about high school, where's that money gonna come from, though? You see what I'm saying? When you start talking about NIL deal for high school, where's that money gonna come from? Like, it's not Texas or Ohio State or you know what I'm saying? Or donors that you got, you know, so we gotta figure that out. Of course, I don't mind it, right? But where is it coming from? Is it coming from sponsorship from this company or this agency or this donor? Where is that money coming from for the high school kids? And like Coach Adams said, again, I could have had a big time player, you know what I'm saying? But we don't give NIL, so they move in the district, all that good stuff, you know. But we couldn't do it because they couldn't accept the NIL money. This kid would have took us over the top. Probably wouldn't have lost a game with the team that we have right now. So we just kind of figured that out, and where they got their money from was something totally nowhere around here. You know, this is national, you know? So, but where's the other kid, like you said, where's this local kid gonna get this money from? Who's gonna sponsor this kid? What's gonna happen? And all those good things. So there's a lot of different questions that you have to ask and have an answer to when you start talking about NIL deals. And I'm for it, but how are we gonna do it?
Good question. Good question. Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
So, a couple weeks ago, I went to a equity meeting in New York City and spoke about NIL. And in my AU club, we don't give anybody any NIL. I go play somewhere else who will. Don't get it wrong. People have been making money in high school basketball, not involved in the OHSAA, but people are paying kids to play AAU. There's no question about it.
Right.
I know a kid who got 40 grand this year. I know kids sitting in around this area who've been offered tens of thousands of dollars. Now, how they do it and what they do, none of my business, right? But you go to your local question, there's two things that happen. Well, one is, depending upon how it's written, the parents are responsible for the taxable income on NIL money. So in college, I had a girl who transferred out of a Power 4 school. Before she ever hit the portal, she had one school offer her $100,000 and another school offer her $350,000. In high school, they say that what's going to happen is as a player, and Adam's 1,000% right, 99% of the kids are not Division I basketball players. So therefore, you are not going to be even considered for NIL money. The smaller portion of those kids are not the top 100s, the Sanaya Halls, who are the best player in the country, who has the opportunity to make that money. The kid who wants to take advantage of Ohio NIL money, who's not a 5-star, is going to have to build such a social media environment and opportunity for themselves, that their Instagram has 100,000 followers, that their Twitter, whatever it is that they're carrying, that they have so much influence on the area when they can go to a flower shop or a car dealership and say, look, I can sit at BW3s and do a time when I'm here, sign some things, and then I'll say I'm attracting you and taking videos at BW3s. Maybe some local manager would feel that that's worth that to them, to where they could build and pay a kid $500. The NIL, to me, is just such a mirage, because the reality of it is there isn't a kid at Berea who's getting an NIL deal. There's not a kid at Avon Lake. I'm talking a high school deal, right? it's just not reality of what it is. It's drummed up and fantasized and romanticized by the people who are going to have those 5 stars in front of them, who are going to have big college opportunities to pay them. But the kids who all this OHSAA governs and controls, it doesn't affect them. So we're not living in that world where NIL is such a great influence. Now, like Damaris said, look, if I had a big pocket guy sitting behind me offering, right, I'll move kids into districts. That's the danger of what you're going to get into, right? The guy who's going to be out there going and sitting in stands, handing down their business cards and saying, why don't you come play for me? I just don't believe in doing it. I don't do it in the AAU club world, right? I utilize friends that trust me with their kids and their players, that I'm going to help develop them and offer a safe environment. But the NIL world isn't something we discuss, because only until you're in college is it going to be transitional money. And kids like Sanaya Hall don't play for any of us.
I'd like to chime in real quick. I think as a coach, you have to accept change because it's inevitable.
Absolutely.
There's nothing you can do. So you either figure out what kind of person or coach you want to continue to be. So the way I coached 5 years ago, I can't coach the same way now. I have to be more understanding of the TikTok trends and things like that. I can't yell at them because they want to, participate, do the dances and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
I've jumped into TikTok with my team before. You know what I mean? So it's like you have to figure out what you're willing to accept. Like Nick Saban, I felt like he said, this is not the direction I want to go in, so he bowed out gracefully. He had a great career. But if you are, like you brought up my guy Debo, it's like you got to make a decision. Do you want to remain competitive, or you want to kind of stay in those old ways and be stubborn? So you have to make a decision on, do you want to continue to coach with integrity, or do you want to get, like you said, a money man behind you? We're going to get the best players available. But I think when you start doing that, it's not about winning anymore. You lose the integrity. You lose the reason why you probably got into coaching in the first place.
Real quick, Rick, right off Coach Donaldson's point, outside of basketball in the district, I like cars. I have a car lot, right? Small, very small, right? So 10 years ago, when there were 2014s and 2010s and 2009s, you can get a backyard mechanic to come and fix with his toolbox, his little pliers and all that good stuff, basic tools. He can now in 2025, that backyard mechanic is obsolete because it's a new car. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you don't want to be obsolete as a coach, listen to what they're saying up here, because you can't just walk up with your hammer anymore and just fix this car.
It's a good analogy.
You can't do that. These kids need something totally different, and if you're not with that, you're going to be frustrated. They're going to be frustrated. The parents are going to be frustrated. It's time for you to gracefully bow it out. If you're not willing to make adjustments and learn more from the kids as well, then you might as well you're gonna frustrate yourself.
All right. So, anybody else have something?
I guess, just one last.
Yeah.
I think Kevin hit on a good point, and it's, if you're marketable enough where you can go to the flower store, B-Dubs, and sign autographs, you deserve every single dollar of that. Like, that is 100% capitalism, and you deserve to achieve that. My biggest fear is anything becoming pay for play, to come to this district, to come to, this private school or anything like that. And I think the NCAA and everybody as a whole, these kids deserve to make money. My biggest fear, though, is these kids are gonna make more money at the college level, maybe at the high school level, from ages 16 to 22. And then they're gonna turn around and they're gonna be high school coaches like all of us. And they don't make, you guys make 350 grand. We don't make that.
Yeah.
And I think we can all say, we all talked about developing young people. If we had hundreds of thousands of dollars in our bank account at age 21, I don't think any of us are making the same choices that we would as the people that we are today. And that's, I hope there's a lot of financial education going on for kids who are maybe as young as 16 or in the college atmosphere, because everybody wants to buy a fancy car,
Yep.
but the income's gonna change fast.
He's absolutely right, Rick, but what I would say to that as well is there's some kids that don't play basketball or football or nothing that's making millions of dollars on the internet and on IG. Like, this is a different day. Like, this is different. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we couldn't even fathom this type of thing before. Not saying that I'm all the way with it or whatever it may be, but it's kids that's walking around here that's what you streaming. Just one dude's making $800,000 a month. Like it's ridiculous. This is crazy, and people are supporting that. These younger kids are supporting these guys. They stand up, the gamers, all these. So we're living in a totally different. It's totally different out here.
And like Damara said about adapting.
Yeah.
Those kids better adapt.
Right.
Or they're gonna go from making
Absolutely.
$800,000 at 23
and not know how to
working
even,
at McDonald's at 25.
Yep. And
you know?
they're not saving that money and doing something with that money.
True.
Absolutely.
Very true.
Absolutely.
Because the websites, the TikToks become
Yep.
Snapchat, and all of it
Yep.
changes really fast.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right, I'll lighten it up, and then we can bring it in for a landing. NBA champion this year, who's it going to be? Okay.
Sports, but I'm always so busy.
You don't have time.
But I'm always gonna go with the hometown Cleveland Cavaliers.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll be a homer too. We'll go Cavs.
all right.
Absolutely not. OKC.
Okay, all right, so,
I'm going with the Thunder as well.
okay.
Lakers. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, I'm a huge Cavs fan, of course, but I got to go with Denver this year.
Ooh, okay, interesting.
But I'm Cavs versus Mavs. Mavs versus Cavs. If the Mavericks, if Kyrie get back and AD do what he got to do, and Flag and all those young kids down there playing, and Clay, I'm going Cavs versus Mavs, and I'm hoping Cavs.
Sounded like a little bit of a marketing there, Cavs, Mavs, you know.
Yeah, it is. That's the good stuff, man.
All right, well, thank you, one and all. I really appreciate you being out here and kind of getting us ready. I'm getting fired up just listening to you. We've got the preview coming up on Saturday, right?
Yep.
Anything you wanted to say about that, or just?
Everybody come out Saturday to Brush High School. You want to see some good high school young ladies play good basketball for a half. It'll each about 6 games for one half. It's always good. We'll feed the kids. We'll feed the players. You can stay and watch the other talent. We got some college coaches coming in, and it'll be a good time as always. Come
Even
on
some
out.
middle school ball this
Got
year.
some middle school ball. I told you I was big on those middle school girls, so I got them a game. I got them in prime time, baby, for 3 o'clock, baby.
All right. Well, all of you, best of luck. I hope everything works out for all of you. Thanks for coming out here on a Wednesday night. We appreciate it, and I hope to see you back next year.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
fellas.
Last thing I want to say, phenomenal job. Thank you.
Oh, yeah,
well, thank
always,
you.
as always.
Thank you. I
That's my guy.
appreciate
That's my right-hand man.
All
Good
right.
stuff.
Have a good night.